Hi, I'm Nigel, developer of AudioSwift, and in this video I'll show you how to use AudioSwift version 2.1 in trigger mode. Besides being able to make beats with the trackpad, now we can play notes using MIDI polyphonic expression or MPE, and also we can trigger chords from the pads. So let's start. When AudioSwift is launched, it creates 3 virtual MIDI ports: AudioSwift 1 and 2 for the mixer mode, and AudioSwift 3 for the trigger, scale, and XY mode. Depending on your DAW, the MIDI ports will be automatically enabled, or maybe you'll need to do it manually in your DAW preferences window. Please read your DAW user guide on how to enable them. Open the console window by clicking Show Console at the main menu and click the star to make it always on top. Choose Trigger Mode at the top menu of the console or use the keyboard shortcut 2. Open the trackpad window to see the trigger pads around the trackpad. By default, AudioSwift divides the surface into 12 pads. Depending on the size of your trackpad, you can change the number of pads by clicking the pads menu and choosing a number. In your DAW, select the track where your virtual instrument is. Turn the console on with 4 or 5 fingers tap and start tapping. Don't hit hard the trackpad. Gentle taps will be enough to trigger the notes. When you finish, hit Escape. AudioSwift in trigger mode works in 3 different types: drums, keys with MIDI polyphonic expression support, and chords. Each type has 60 different pads that can be configured at the console window for a total of 180 pads. Each group of 60 pads is divided by banks. The notes by default start at C1 or C3 and go up chromatically. A type choose between drums for playing percussive sounds, keys for playing melodies, and chords to trigger chord progressions. The key shortcut is the letter B. With drums, the notes are short, even if you keep touching the trackpad. With keys and chords, the notes last until you lift your finger. If you use a trackpad with force touch support and apply pressure to the surface, the controller will send after-touch MIDI messages, also known as channel pressure. Keys type can also send pitch bend or CC messages per note when the finger moves. In the middle section of the console window, you assign the MIDI note to each pad. Change the MIDI note of the pad by tapping its name, its MIDI number from 0 to 127, or by clicking and dragging over the note. Another easy way to change the notes is to use key shortcuts. Hold the Option key and tap a pad on the trackpad. The note will change a semitone up. Use Shift Option for a semitone down. With keys C and V, or N and M, transpose all notes in the current bank a semitone up or down. Hold the Shift key and the notes will change an octave. Use the space above the note to type a label for the pad. Beside the note, right-click the empty space. A drop-down menu appears with the options to copy and paste pads or reset the bank. At the bottom of the console, choose the next bank. Use keyboard shortcuts C and X or period and comma. The number of banks will depend on the number of pads selected. To change the velocity of the pads, type a value, drag the mouse pointer, or use the up and down keys. Do the same for the MIDI channel, or use the left and right keys instead. The keys type offers the option to use the trackpad as an MPE controller. MPE stands for MIDI polyphonic expression, and it's a method of using the standard MIDI specification to play synths and virtual instruments in a more expressive way. Besides sending note on and note off messages, each pad can also send pitch bend and control change per note by sliding the fingers horizontally and vertically. In order to achieve these polyphonic dimensions, an MPE controller separates the data between MIDI channels. Then the synth or virtual instrument should be MPE compatible in order to reproduce the sounds correctly, or otherwise it will work like regular MIDI. I put a link below with recommended sounds and DAWs that are MPE compatible and can also work with AudioSwift. AudioSwift uses MIDI channels 2, 3, and 4 to send the MIDI messages for each note, and channel 1 for global messages. Only 3 notes can be played on the trackpad at the same time. AudioSwift will send global channel pressure on channel 1 with force touch trackpads. To enable MPE mode in AudioSwift, select the trigger mode and select keys as a type in the console window. Then go to Preferences, Trigger tab, and enable Use MPE mode. By default, the X-axis sends pitch bend and the Y-axis sends CC74 or expression, which is the standard control change number according to the MPS specification. You can change it to CC1 mod wheel instead and set a default value where the controller will return after the fingers is lifted from the trackpad. In this case, the default is 64. Uncheck Enable X-axis or Y-axis controller in order to disable each controller. To set a scale for the pads, right-click any pad and choose a scale. The scale will be built starting from that pad. You can also use Ctrl-Tab or Shift-Ctrl-Tab. Some DAWs are easy to configure for MPE. Just add one track for the plugin and that's all. Other ones require to create several tracks for each MIDI channel used. I'm going to show you 2 examples for both situations. Read the AudioSwift user guide for more examples with the DAW you use. Logic Pro comes with several stock virtual instruments that are MPE compatible. RetroSynth, Alchemy, EXS24, ES2, EFM1, Sculpture, and Vintage Clav. Insert a plugin on a track. Open it, go to the bottom, and click the left triangle. Select MIDI mono mode on with common bass channel 1. Choose the pitch bend range for the instrument. Turn on AudioSwift with a 4 or 5 fingers tap and start playing. Vertical movements send CC74 messages. On horizontal movements send pitch bend. Pressing the trackpad sends aftertouch. Use the A or L keys to sustain the notes. Now let's see an example using Ableton Live. Live doesn't fully support MPE, but there is a workaround to make it work with plugins. Create 5 MIDI tracks in your project. Track 1 will be the host for the MPE plugin. In this case, it's UE Repro 5. It will only play the sounds and won't receive any MIDI input directly from the trackpad. So select No Input under MIDI From. Track 2 will be the global master channel and will use MIDI channel 1. Tracks 3 to 5 will use MIDI channels 2 to 4 for each note. Under MIDI From, select AudioSwift 3 for all 4 tracks, and then set each track to MIDI channels 1 to 4. Under MIDI 2 for each track, select the third-party MPE plugin. Below, set each track to a channel of the plugin. On tracks 2 to 5, press Record and start playing with the trackpad. The sound should come out from track 1 and the MIDI notes will be spread out over the rest of the MIDI tracks. With the Chords type, every pad triggers a chord. By default, all pads are set to major chords in root position. To change it, right-click the blank space in the pad beside the note at the console window. Here you can click Set Scale and the bank will change to diatonic chords of the key, starting at the pad you have chosen. To change chords individually, click Set Chords. Change to other inversion by clicking next inversion. Besides copying and pasting paths or banks, there are also the options to paste chord and paste chords to all. This will apply the same chord type and inversion to another path or to the entire bank. To make the setup of scales and chords easier, the following key shortcuts are available. Option Tab or Shift Option Tab. The note will change a semitone up or down. Control Tab or Shift Control Tab to set the scale from the pad. Command Tab or Shift Command Tab to set the chord of the specified pad. Command Option Tab to go to the next inversion of the chord. The keys A or L add sustain to the note. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. The Audiosurf user guide has been updated too if you want to have a quick reference of what we have talked here in this video. You can download it at audioswiftapp.com/tutorials, where we have more videos on how to use Audiosurf. Thanks for watching.